Good evening. My name is Robin Newell with Emporia Public Library, and I'm here this evening to talk with you a little bit about improving your child's literacy skills and improving your skills to read to your child in such a way that will encourage the child to talk more and build their vocabulary and therefore build their literacy skills. We're working with the Kansas Masonic Literacy Center on the Emporia State University campus, and what we're really interested in is the word gap that many children have in their homes. Some children hear as few as 30 million words less than other children do. So the theme that we have is to talk more with your children. That's why this is called Words Matter. It's all about talking. It's all about them hearing words out of a human's mouth, not hearing words off of the television or off of the radio or anything like that. It's hearing words out of a person's mouth. And not just hearing those words, but actually having conversations with another individual and using those conversations to question the child. And part of the way that that can be done is through dialogic reading. And that's what we're going to talk about this evening, is dialogic reading. And dialogic reading, when I first heard about it, I thought, what is dialogic reading? What is dialogic? And if you think about it as dialogue, then it made sense to me, because then it's a conversation, and you're going to have a conversation with your children about the book that you're reading. So the way that dialogic works is it really turns the child into the storyteller. The child is going to tell the story to you. You're going to help the child go through the book, but the child is going to interact with you, and you're going to ask the child questions, and they're going to respond to those questions. And in those conversations is when those brain cells really get stretched, because you're making that child think, and developed. And they've actually done studies, and this is showing at birth how many brain synapses, and these just get stretched over and over and over again and grown until this is what a 6 years old synaptic density looks like. And when you think about, this is what they start with, and this is what they can have if they hear rich conversation and lots of books. You're actually building your child's brain by reading to them and talking to them, and how talking to your children and reading to your children actually stretches their brain, and it's just like a muscle. They grow more synapses. I think it's kind of interesting that at 14 years it changes a little bit. I don't know what that's about, but if you think about a middle schooler and a 6-year-old, there's a difference there. The other picture that I have is called the plasticity of the brain, and that's where the more you talk to the child, the more you're going to develop that brain. And this is a picture of a child who has been talked to a lot and read to a lot. It's an actual healthy child brain. And then this is a child who has been extremely deprived. So from a household where they didn't talk a lot, they didn't read a lot, kids sat in front of the television set all the time, there just wasn't a lot of human interaction. So this is actual pictures of the difference in brains of children who are healthy and children who are neglected. And again, what we're going to talk about tonight is how to read, how to converse with your child, and the easiest way to do this is through the dialogic reading. And also, we'll talk a little bit after we talk about dialogic reading about the 3 T's, which are tune in to your child, talk more to your child, and take turns. So let's start with dialogic reading and what it is and how easy it is. It's really a simple type of reading. As I said earlier, the adult becomes the listener. You're going to become the listener. You're going to become the questioner. You're going to become the audience for the child, and the child is actually going to talk to you and read to you. And not necessarily read to you, but tell you the story and tell you what they're seeing in the picture book. And if you think about it, I love to play the piano, but I don't play it very well. And I love to listen to people play the piano. And I can listen to someone play the piano all day long, and I will not be able to play the piano. I have to practice. So it's the same way with reading. A child can listen to reading and listen to reading and listen to reading, which is good, but they actually have to practice that reading. So that's what we want you to think about is and it's not a chore. It should be a fun experience for a child. So why dialogic reading? And again, it's because that oral language supports literacy. That oral language supports that growth. Children become more engaged with the book when you talk, when you use dialogic reading. They become an interactive participant in the book. They feel like they could be in the book sometimes, and will tell you after they finish the storybook that they want to go back and be in the book. They want to be with those characters again. The reading also helps to know whether the child is understanding what's going on in the book, because you're asking questions. So it's like reader's comprehension in some ways, only on a very small level. And then the research has proven it. Dialogic reading has been around for years. It's been around for probably at least close to 20 anyway. And they've already done the research that says that this is an effective way to increase your child's vocabulary, to increase their literacy, to increase their conversational skills, and just, again, that kindergarten readiness, that's something that we're always looking at, is how can we get them ready to learn? How can we get them more comfortable with having conversations with an adult, having conversations with a teacher, having a conversation with another child. So a dialogic reading can help that child learn the process of conversation. So we're going to talk a little bit about the easy way to do dialogic reading. It's a peer sequence, and I've got some bookmarks here. I'm just going to pass those around. But peer is an acronym, and it's an easy way to think about dialogic reading. So the first thing you're going to do with dialogic reading is you're going to prompt the child to say something about the book. So we have jump frog jump here. So you're going to prompt the child to say something about the book. And the way you prompt a child is to say something like, "What do you think this frog is doing? Where do you think this fish is going? What's hiding in these weeds?" These are all prompts for the child to then respond. So you prompt the child, and then when the child says, "I think that that's a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle in the weeds there," then you evaluate. That's the next prompt, and then evaluate what the child says. And then you can say, "Wow, you really think that's a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle? Which one do you think it is?" And then you add something. So you evaluate, and then you expand the child's response by rephrasing and adding information. So you can say, "Yeah, that could be a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. Which one do you think it is?" And then he could respond, and you're off to the races on another conversation. And then you might bring it back and say, "Well, where do you think this fish is going?" Another prompt. And he could say, "Oh, that fish is going to swim to the ocean." And you would say, "The big ocean. Have you ever been to the ocean?" And that's another type of adding, evaluating, and then adding to the response. So the last thing you do is you repeat the prompt to see if the child has learned anything. And as I said, who do you think this is? What is in those reeds? You think it's a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle? And you think it's Raphael? Where do you think he's going next? So you start having conversations about the book. You start having conversations about the picture, and then you can start reading the book. We're going to talk a little bit later about how to pick good books to use with dialogic reading. We've got a great handout here, and we have a lot of resources at any public library for dialogic reading, but you're going to look for a book that has great pictures in it. You're going to look for books that have repetitive words or repetitive sounds. Kids love animal sound books, and they're easy. One of the prompts is to ask a child, the cow says, what? And the cow says moo. Oh, the cow says moo. What does the cow do after they say moo? What does the cow get? So you just add to that and you go back over and over. But so on this one you would start with, this is the fly that climbed out of the water. See the fly? This is the frog that was under the fly that climbed out of the water. Here he comes. How did the frog catch the fly? Jump, frog, jump. And then you go back and you say, how did that frog catch that? Where did it go? Where is that? Did he eat that? Where is it at? Do you think it's in his tummy, or do you think it flew away? And again, you can go back with the pictures and start with, what do you see up here? The child would say, I see a snake. And you would say, you see a snake? What color? Is that a big snake or a little snake? And again, you repeat the prompt about, that's a snake, that's right. So you just keep asking questions as you go through the book, prompting the child, evaluating what the child says, expanding on what the child says, and then repeating the first prompt. So this is the fish that swam after the frog that was under the fly. Is this the fish that was on the front? Could this be the same fish? How did the frog get away? Jump, frog, jump. Did he jump again? What did he jump over? Who is this? Who's hiding? So there's just lots of questions you can ask, and that's why when you choose a book for dialogic reading, you want to choose one that has good pictures, but not overwhelming pictures, because sometimes children can get lost if there's too much detail. These two are two of my favorite, Jump, Frog, Jump, and then the Big Red Barn, because this has got lots of great animal noises in it, and the kids love this. So again, dialogic reading is simply letting the child tell you the story by answering the prompts that you give. Now, there's all kinds of different prompts that you can use. And if you look on the back of your bookmark, the acronym is CROWD. And so the first prompt that you can use is called a completion prompt, and that's where you say, what does the cow say? The cow says, moo. What does the dog say? The dog says. So those are completion prompts where you leave the last word off. A lot of times those are a lot of fun to use with rhymes or nursery rhymes if you're reading those types of books. Recall is the next one. The acronym is CROWD, so the next letter is R, and it's recall. And these are questions you ask, and I don't know about your children, but mine love to read the same book over and over and over and over and over again until we wore the covers off of it. So this is a situation where you might pick that book up and he says, read it again, please, or she says, read it again, please. And you would ask a question about, what did you like the most about the book the last time we read this? What do you remember? Who was in this storybook? So you're actually prompting those questions, prompting that recall. They're having to think about, what was in that book the last time I read it? And a lot of times you can read the same book over and over again. And if using these prompts, they will actually think of different things in that book that they have not seen before, because they're having to step outside of that story time situation and really think about, well, what was in that? What was in that book? The third type of prompt is open-ended, and these are the ones that focus on the pictures in the books. And you, as I said, what is this doing? Why does what is this thing in this that's hanging out of this snake's mouth? And then the WH prompts, the what, where, how, when, and why, and those are the easiest ones to remember. It is very hard to break the practice of asking yes and no questions, like, did you see this fish? Yeah? Did you see this from? You know, is this a snake? You know, if the child is just shaking their head, yes or no, they're not really interacting with the book or with you. They're just answering the questions, but it's really hard. It's a hard thing for me to break, to think about asking those questions that are, tell me more. Tell me more about what you see here. Instead of saying, is this a cow? Is this a pig? Is this a fish? So those are the WH prompts. And then distancing is asking the child to relate the book to something that has nothing to do with this book. So if I had a child who might be a little bit older and maybe Grandpa took him fishing last weekend, I would say, oh, let's read Jump, Rod, Jump. And then we would talk about, remember when you went fishing with your grandfather last week? Did you see a fish? And see, I just asked that yes or no question. Tell me about the fish that you caught. It's asking the child to think about a real life situation that's happened to them and relate it back to this book. Was there a frog at the lake when you were there? Did you see anything like that? So again, it's taking real life and relating it to the book. So those are the 5 different kinds of prompts. So now we've got 2 words. We've got peer, which is how to do the dialogic reading, which is prompt them, evaluate them, expand it, and then repeat it. And children love repetition, so you can't, they will tell you when they're tired of hearing it again. So that's the 4 things for dialogic reading. And then on the crowd acronym actually helps you remember some easy prompts to do. And the thing that's the easiest for me to remember is don't ask a yes or no question. Almost any of the questions you ask with the book will work. So that is dialogic reading. And as I said, the big picture here is you really don't want to make it a chore. Reading should be a fun situation. It should be a situation where you're coming together, you're having great time together, you're talking, and you want to have those lots of words because words matter, and you want to have what's called a conversation turn, which means I don't get to do all the talking and they don't get to do all the talking. We take turns. And it's actually those conversation turns that teach them the rhythm of conversation. That there's pauses, there's questions, and so that there's that taking turn, and that's how they learn how to format questions and sentences and that type of thing. Can I answer any questions, or do you have any comments?
So you're saying that it's the goal is to have a conversation over the story's content with the child, not just finish the book and not just make sure you ask every one of these prompts.
That's correct. It's to have a, you may not even get through the book. The whole thing is you want to engage the child. It should be an interactive situation. You may not get through. You may not get through this book. It may take you a couple of weeks to get through this book if you're, not a couple of weeks, but a couple of days to get through the book if you're doing dialogic reading. And the goal is not necessarily to get to the end of the book, but it's to let the children talk to you about the book and tell you what they are seeing, because that's making them think. It's not a set and get. It's not a set and get story time anymore. Now it's they tell you what they see. And you help them by evaluating what they're seeing, expanding on it, and then repeating it back to them. thank you very much for coming tonight. Really appreciate you being here. I know, it goes quickly, doesn't it? I really appreciate your participation.